This story that I am going to tell you now serves as a reminder to all of us that betrayal is a deep wound, a breach that, for many, can never be forgiven. The hurt and desire for revenge can consume the soul of a betrayed person, causing them to take unexpected actions. Amanda had woken up early to prepare a delicious breakfast for her husband Bruno, but was surprised to realize that he would not stay for breakfast with her. When asked why he wasn't having coffee at home, the man replied that he was in a hurry and would rather eat something at work. Amanda understood and offered to prepare something for him to take with him. Bruno, a little irritated, retorted, fearing that he would be the target of jokes from his colleagues. He assured her. However, before he left, Bruno made a comment that hurt Amanda. As Bruno walked away, Amanda watched him, feeling a mix of emotions. She wondered why he had refused the coffee she had prepared with such care, and worried about what he had said about her husband. Bruno had not always been like this. In the beginning, everything had seemed perfect. They were a happy couple, and Amanda believed she had found the man of her dreams. However, his behavior began to change after 4 years of marriage. The man was no longer as affectionate and attentive as before, and there was nothing Amanda could do to please her husband. Bruno had a prestigious position in the company where he worked, and was responsible for managing a large electronics company. Years ago, he was just a modest clothing salesman. And it was in this store that he met a special client, who would later become his wife, Amanda. At the beginning of their relationship, despite Amanda working as a nurse, the couple faced several financial challenges. But together, they gradually managed to stabilize their finances, improving their situation even further after Bruno completed his studies and was later hired as an administrator for the electronics company. Within a few years, Bruno managed to gain the trust of the owner and, due to his competence, he was quickly promoted to international sales manager. The couple soon rented a better, more spacious house in a residential neighborhood and bought a car. With their financial situation improving, Amanda expressed a desire to have children. But Bruno hesitated, arguing that the time was not yet right. However, as Bruno spent more and more time at work, his behavior gradually began to change. Amanda didn't want to think badly of him, but she couldn't help but feel that work was taking up all of his time and attention. One day, while her wife was shopping, she had an unexpected encounter with Pedro, an old college sweetheart she hadn't seen in years. The reunion was warm and Pedro, without hesitation, invited her for coffee at a nearby cafe. She decided to call her husband to let him know that she would be home later than expected. However, it was not him who answered, but a cold and unfamiliar female voice. Amanda was stunned and asked who it was. She recognized the voice of the company secretary and knew that it was not hers. "Who are you?" "I need to talk to my husband." Amanda spoke in disbelief, not understanding why a woman had answered her husband's private phone. There was an awkward pause before the voice answered. "Bruno left his phone in my office and it's busy right now. I'll ask him to call you back as soon as possible." And then the call ended abruptly. Amanda found the woman's behavior strange, but decided not to worry anymore and enjoy the moment with her friend Pedro, since they had not seen each other for so long. While they were at the coffee shop, Pedro told him a little about his life and explained that he had recently returned to the country after studying medicine abroad for 6 years. Amanda also shared part of her life with him, explaining how her husband had changed and how distant and cold he had been towards her in recent years. Pedro expressed concern. "Sorry to butt in, but I think your husband is cheating on you. You should consider hiring a detective. I know someone who can help you. If you want, I can give you his number. It's not cheap, but it can clear up any doubts you may have." Amanda wondered whether she should follow that advice. She and Bruno had a relationship of mutual trust, and she thought it was wrong to distrust him. Even so, after much thought, she accepted the detective's number and said she would think about it. During the conversation, Pedro began to remember the old college days when they had fun together. At the time, Amanda believed that she would have a life with Pedro and that they would form a family with him. But this dream was interrupted by the insecurity of youth and Pedro's desire to study abroad. Although she was sad, Amanda had understood the situation and moved on with her life. Now, she was married and somewhat happy, but the reunion with Pedro was about to change the course of both their lives. At the end of the meeting, Pedro invited Amanda to dinner that night, making it clear that it would be just as a friend, as he respected her marriage and did not want to cause problems. At first, Amanda thought about declining the invitation, claiming that she needed to go home, worried about her husband. These words took Pedro by surprise. He was hopeful that she would accept. Pedro suggested postponing the meeting until the next day, if Amanda was available. Reluctantly, Amanda agreed, admitting that it was not a romantic date, but just a meeting with a friend, and therefore there would be no problem. The two then exchanged phone numbers and arranged to meet the next day. Arriving home, Amanda expected to find her husband, but he had not yet arrived. She took a shower and waited for him in bed, but Bruno took so long that she ended up falling asleep. In the morning, when she woke up, her husband had already left. Well, that was what she imagined, because Amanda was not sure if he had slept at home, since she had not seen him arrive during the night, and she imagined that it could be because of his heavy sleep. She sent him a message, informing him about the meeting with his old friend during the night, but he did not respond. Hours passed and Amanda began to worry. At the agreed time for the meeting, she took a taxi and went to the restaurant with Pedro. They greeted each other warmly, and after ordering something to eat, they began to talk about many things. Pedro shared that he was still single and admitted, "Sometimes I wonder what our life would have been like if I hadn't left. Unfortunately, I had to make a difficult choice. But now, finally, I was able to meet you again. Who knows, maybe destiny has something in store for us." Amanda shook her head and answered in a low voice, "Don't say that, Pedro. I'm married, it's too late for us." Pedro respected Amanda's decision and said, "I would never force you to do anything against your will. I just want you to know that if you are not happy in your marriage, you can give us both a chance. You have my number, and no matter where I am, you can call me. I will be waiting for you, just as I have been all these years." Amanda was speechless with that statement. She thanked him for his affection and said that unfortunately it was too late, because now she was a committed woman with plans to have a family with her husband Bruno. When she heard Bruno's name, Amanda's attention went back to her phone, remembering that her husband had not yet replied to her message or returned her call. She became restless and anxious to understand what was happening to him, but she tried to hide it so as not to ruin dinner with Pedro. However, her disguise was not good enough, causing Pedro to realize that she was not well. He then asked her what was wrong and why she seemed so uncomfortable. Amanda said that she was worried because her husband had not answered her, but that he was probably very busy at work. Pedro questioned her about hiring the detective she had recommended, but was surprised to hear Amanda say that she would not hire him, because in addition to the price for the investigation service being exorbitant, she trusted her husband and believed that he would never have the courage to cheat on her. Pedro respected her opinion and decided to change the subject so as not to embarrass Amanda, but deep down he knew that Bruno was deceiving Amanda, and so he decided to help her without her finding out. The next day, in secret, Pedro decided to contact the detective to investigate Bruno. He shared with the detective all his suspicions and everything he knew about the man's life, including the address where he worked. The detective agreed to begin the investigation immediately, mentioning that he would bring answers as soon as possible. The cost of the investigation was not low, but Pedro was willing to show Amanda the truth. Meanwhile, Bruno continued to be indifferent and strange with Amanda. When he got home, the woman asked him if something was wrong, since he had been acting cold and arrogant towards her for some time. The man became even more irritated, saying that she was demanding too much, explaining that his work was tiring and that it demanded a lot from him, and that if she was not satisfied, the doors were open for her to leave. These words hurt Amanda deeply, and she locked herself in the bathroom to cry in secret. While she was crying, she heard Bruno saying that she should get ready, because that night there would be a party at home with her co-workers. He added that he didn't want the party to take place there, but it had been his co-worker's suggestion, and all he could do was accept it. That night, after meticulously getting ready for the party in her favorite dress, Amanda left the room, eager to be introduced to Bruno's co-workers. The champagne was flowing, and the room was filled with elegant people. She was disconcerted to realize that she didn't know any of the guests at the party. The laughter mixed with the beats of the music that echoed throughout the room. When she looked for her husband, She realized that he was talking to a stunning woman with shiny hair, very elegant and naturally beautiful. The way the two talked and looked at each other made Amanda feel a little jealous. She came to him expecting to be introduced to that slender woman, but what Bruno did was surprising. He apologized and excused himself from the beautiful woman and pulled Amanda to a corner of the house. The man's words were devastating. Bruno asked Amanda what she thought she was doing dressed like that she should hire a fashion expert, because it was clear that she needed it. And what about the makeup? He said that she looked like a clown, that she must have done it only to embarrass him. The poor woman didn't even know what to say, and was devastated by her husband's cruel words. In tears and shame, she ran back to her room, wondering who this woman was who seemed to be causing such a commotion, and who Bruno was looking at with such intense eyes. Feeling hurt and alone in her room, Amanda called Pedro to vent to him. Pedro promptly answered her call and was furious with Bruno. He wanted to go over there and rub the man's face on the floor, but worried, Amanda begged him not to do anything. Pedro invited Amanda to go out and take her mind off things, but she declined, saying it would be better not to meet for now. The two talked for long hours until Amanda fell asleep. The following week, the detective notified Pedro that he had the answers. That afternoon, the two met and the detective gave Pedro an envelope with photos and a flash drive with videos. The detective told him that it had been easier than he had expected and that he would give him a discount. Pedro then thanked him and made the payment. Anxiously, he returned home to check the contents he had received. As soon as he arrived, he settled into his room and opened the envelope. What he saw left him perplexed. After carefully examining the contents of the envelope, he inserted the flash drive into his laptop and nearly fell backwards. Amanda needed to see it urgently. He couldn't wait another minute. She needed to see it. Pedro anonymously paid a delivery boy to deliver the flash drive and the envelope to Amanda, making it clear to the delivery man that he could only deliver it to Amanda's person. After a few hours, Pedro received a call from Amanda. The woman was furious and could barely explain what was happening. But without her realizing it, Pedro already knew everything. In conversation, Amanda explained that she had received photos and videos from an anonymous person that contained scenes of her husband with another woman. She said that Bruno met with his lover every day, and that she was even the slender woman who was talking to Bruno on the day of the party he had at his house. Amanda also expressed her disbelief at the last photo that was contained in the envelope. Bruno and his lover Camila had spent the night of the party in one of the rooms of the house. Amanda could not believe her husband's audacity and would not let it go unpunished. She told Pedro that she had an ace up her sleeve and that she would soon make Bruno pay for all the pain and betrayal he had caused. Pedro was immediately interested in knowing what she was going to do, but Amanda preferred to keep it a secret and let him find out for himself soon. This conversation made Pedro even more anxious, not knowing what to expect from Amanda and what the outcome of this betrayal would be. The next day, Amanda woke up with a radiant smile, which caught Bruno's attention. She was different. She was happy and excited. Bruno asked her what had happened for her to be like that with a smile on her face first thing in the morning, and she simply said that she was feeling good, because justice had been served. The man was surprised, asking what justice. She replied that it was the justice of life and that the world goes around, and that as soon as he got to work, he would understand what she was saying. Bruno called her a crazy person and sarcastically said that she should see a doctor as soon as possible. Taking advantage of the mockery, Amanda said that she would follow the advice and that as soon as she got out, she would consult with her favorite doctor. The man didn't like it very much and left the house angry. Amanda's words echoed in his mind as he headed to work, trying to decipher what she meant. But it didn't take long for everything to become clear. When he arrived at work, everyone was looking at him with indignant expressions. Some shook their heads in denial, others put their hands over their mouths in astonishment, while others whispered gossip. One of Bruno's colleagues quickly came to him and showed him in his email all the photo and video files he had received, which, by the way, everyone else in the company had also received. Bruno turned pale, not knowing what to do. A chill ran down his spine, and the man was left breathless. His co-workers began to boo him, but silence fell over the room when Mr. Ricardo, the owner of the company, arrived. Bruno, nervous, tried to hide his embarrassment and reached out to greet Ricardo. But what he received was more than a handshake. Ricardo gave him a painful punch in the face, saying that it was not enough for what he deserved, and asked the man to get out of his way immediately if he didn't want the other side of his face to be marked as well. Bruno, in a mixture of anger and despair, tried to argue his innocence, but his voice was drowned out by the irritation of his boss, who did not want to hear a single word. Devastated, he left the company without any support, realizing that his reputation had been irreparably tarnished. What Pedro did not yet know was that Camila, Bruno's lover, was the wife of the company owner. Since the company owner traveled a lot for work, Bruno and Camila took advantage of the situation, creating a secret relationship when their boss was away. But since lies have short legs, they were soon discovered. In her meticulous plan, Amanda sent the photos to all the company employees and all of Bruno's contacts, revealing the true traitor that he was. In addition to the company, the entire city found out about what had happened, and his name was plastered all over the place. His lover Camila was also thrown out of the house and called Bruno furiously. The man apologized and said that she could move in with him, but was surprised by her response that the worst thing was having met him, because if it weren't for that, her life would have remained perfect. Camila made it clear to Bruno that he should never look for her again. Amanda, immediately after sending the photos, left home and moved into a rented apartment. Protected by her lawyer, she requested a divorce and compensation for moral damages, as she had been cheated on for over a year. In the end, Bruno was left without a job, a wife, and friends. No one wanted to go out with him anymore, and he was the target of gossip. 3 months later, Amanda decided to give love another chance. And there she was, with a radiant smile on her lips and a new sparkle in her eyes. Pedro, with a bouquet of flowers in his hand, had asked her to be his girlfriend, promising to show her the true meaning of love. The bond between them, which had been rooted since adolescence, was stronger than ever, and they were ready to embrace a new future together. And you, what would you do in Amanda's place? Would you forgive? Would you take revenge? Or would you just end the relationship and let the betrayal go unpunished? Leave your answer in the comments. Thank you for watching. Comment below what you thought of this story, and which city you are watching from. Leave a like and subscribe to our channel, so that together we can build a huge community that shares inspiring stories. Until later.